There appears to be. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Banks, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Blackburn, Mr. Blumenthal, Ms. Blunt-Rochester, Mr. Booker, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Britt.
Aye.
Mr. Budd. Ms. Cantwell. Mrs. Capito. Mr. Cassidy. Ms. Collins. Mr. Coons. Mr. Cornyn. Ms. Cortez Masto. Mr. Cotton. Mr. Kramer. Mr. Crapo. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Curtis. Mr. Daines. Ms. Duckworth. Mr. Durbin. Ms. Ernst. Mr. Fetterman. Mrs. Fisher. Mr. Gallego. Mrs. Gillibrand. Mr. Graham. Mr. Grassley. Mr. Haggerty. Ms. Hassan. Mr. Hawley. Mr. Heinrich. Mr. Hickenlooper. Ms. Hirono. Mr. Hoven. Mr. Husted. Mrs. Hyde-Smith. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Justice. Mr. Kane. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kim. Mr. King. Ms. Klobuchar. Mr. Langford. Mr. Lee. Mr. Lujan. Ms. Lummis. Mr. Markey. Mr. Marshall. Mr. McConnell. Mr. McCormick. Mr. Merkley. Mrs. Moody. Mr. Moran. Mr. Moreno. Mr. Mullen. Ms. Murkowski. Mr. Murphy. Mrs. Murray. Mr. Ossoff. Mr. Padilla. Mr. Paul. Mr. Peters. Mr. Reed. Mr. Ricketts. Mr. Risch. Ms. Rosen. Mr. Rounds. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Schatz. Mr. Schiff. Mr. Schmidt. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Scott of Florida. Mr. Scott of South Carolina. Mrs. Shaheen. Mr. Sheehy, Ms. Slotkin, Ms. Smith, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Thune, Mr. Tillis, Mr. Tuberville, Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Warner, Mr. Warnock, Ms. Warren, Mr. Welch, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Mr. Young. Senators voting in the affirmative: Britt, Budd, Collins, Crapo, Fisher, Kennedy, Marshall, McCormick, Murkowski. Senators voting in the negative: Cantwell, Cortez Masto, Fetterman, Hassan, Kim, King, Merkley, Rosen, and Smith. Ms. Duckworth, no. Mr. Wyden, no. Mrs. Murray, no. Mrs. Capito, aye. Mr. Warnock, no. Mr. Barrasso, aye. Mr. Cotton, aye. Mr. Rounds, aye. Mr. Mullen, aye. Ms. Hirono, no. Mr. Moreno, aye. Mr. Wicker, aye. Mr. Cornyn, aye. Mr. Scott of Florida, aye. Mrs. Hyde Smith, aye. Mrs. Gillibrand, no. Mr. Booker, no. Ms. Warren, no. Ms. Baldwin, no. Mr. Grassley, aye. Mr. Bozeman, aye. Mr. Justice, aye. Mr. Tillis, aye. Mr. Scott of South Carolina, aye. Mrs. Blackburn, aye. Mr. Durbin, no. Mr. Husted, aye. Ms. Klobuchar, no. Mr. Ossoff, no. Mr. Curtis, aye. Mr. Young, aye. Ms. Lummis, aye. Mr. Cassidy, aye. Mr. Murphy, no. Mr. Lujan, no. Mr. Ricketts, aye. Mr. Schatz, no. Mr. Langford, aye. Mr. Kelly, no. Mr. Johnson, aye. Mr. Whitehouse, no. Mrs. Moody, aye. Mr. Markey, no. Mr. Warner, no. Mr. Graham, aye. Mr. Moran, aye. Miss Blunt Rochester, no. Mr. Welch, no. Mr. Van Hollen, no. Mr. Hoven, aye. Mr. Peters, no. Mr. Schmidt, aye. Mr. Haggerty, aye.
My wife got mad at me watching.
Mr. Reed, no. Mr. Banks, aye. Mr. Thune, aye. Miss Ernst, aye. Mr. Bennett, no. Mr. Cruz, aye. Mr. Coons, no. Mr. Padilla, Mr. Padilla, no. Mr. Kane, no. Mr. Sullivan, aye. Mr. Paul, aye. Miss Brooks, no. Mr. McConnell, aye. Mr. Kramer, aye. Mr. Hawley, aye. Mr. Tuberville, aye. Miss Slotkin, no. Mr. Risch, aye. Mr. Schiff, Mr. Schiff, no. Mrs. Shaheen, Mrs. Shaheen, no. Mr. Schumer, Mr. Schumer, no. Mr. Sheehy, Mr. Sheehy, aye. Mr. Blumenthal, Mr. Blumenthal, no. Mr. Gallego, Mr. Gallego, no.
The yeas are 51, the nays are 44, and the resolution is agreed to. The clerk will report the motion to invoke cloture.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the nomination of Stephen Miran of New York to be a member of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System for the unexpired term of 14 years from February 1st, 2012, signed by 17 senators.
Under the previous order, the mandatory quorum call under Rule 22 has been waived. The question is it the sense of the Senate that the debate on the nomination of Stephen Miran of New York to be a member of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System for the unexpired term of 14 years from February 1st, 2012 shall be brought to a close? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks. Ms. Baldwin. Thank you. I did. Mr. Banks. Mr. Paul. Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett. Thank you. Thank you. I did. Thank you. I appreciate it. Mrs. Blackburn. Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Blunt Rochester. Mr. Blumenthal, Ms. Blunt Rochester, Mr. Booker. Mr. Bozeman. Mrs. Britt. Mr. Budd. Ms. Cantwell. Mrs. Capito, Mr. Cassidy. Ms. Collins. Thank you. Mr. Coons. Mr. Cornyn. Ms. Cortez Masto. Mr. Cotton, Mr. Kramer. Mr. Crapo. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Curtis. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Daines. Ms. Duckworth. Mr. Durbin, Ms. Ernst. Mr. Fetterman. Mrs. Fisher. Mr. Gallego, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham. Mr. Grassley, Mr. Haggerty, Ms. Hassan. Mr. Hawley, Mr. Heinrich. I got you. Mr. Hickenlooper. Ms. Hirono. Mr. Hoven, Mr. Husted. Mrs. Hyde-Smith, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Justice, Mr. Kane. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kim. Mr. King, Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Lankford. Mr. Lee. Mr. Lujan, Ms. Lummis. Mr. Markey. Mr. Marshall. Mr. McConnell, Mr. McCormick. Mr. Merkley, Mrs. Moody, Mr. Moran. Mr. Marino. Mr. Mullen, Ms. Murkowski, Mr. Murphy, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Ossoff, Mr. Padilla, Mr. Paul, Mr. Peters, Mr. Reed, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Risch, Ms. Rosen, Mr. Risch, Ms. Rosen, Mr. Rounds, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schatz, Mr. Schiff, Mr. Schumer, Mr. Scott of Florida, Mr. Scott of South Carolina, Mrs. Shaheen, Mr. Sheehy, Ms. Slotkin, Ms. Smith, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Thune, Mr. Tillis, Mr. Tuberville, Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Warner, Mr. Warnock, Ms. Warren, Mr. Welch, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Mr. Young. Senators voting in the affirmative: Barrasso, Capito, Cassidy, Cornyn, Cotton, Kramer, Crapo, Curtis, Ernst, Grassley, Haggerty, Hawley, Husted, Hyde-Smith, Justice, Lankford, McConnell, Moody, Moran, Paul, Ricketts, Risch, Scott of South Carolina, Sullivan, Thune, Tuberville, Wicker, and Young. Senators voting in the negative: also Brooks, Baldwin, Blumenthal, Blunt Rochester, Cortez Masto, Duckworth, Durbin, Fetterman, Gallego, Gillibrand, Hassan, Hirono, Kane, Kim, King, Klobuchar, Lujan, Merkley, Murray, Asa, Padilla, Peters, Schatz, Shaheen, Slatkin, Smith, Warren, Welch, and Whitehouse. Thank you. Mr. Sheehy, aye. Mrs. Fisher, aye.
Hey, Pete, the Cubs gonna make the...
We should get a wild card berth, yeah.
Mr. Schatz, no. Mr. Schiff, no. Mr. Graham, aye. Mr. Rounds, aye. Mrs. Blackburn, aye.
I'm thinking, oh man, the Cubs...
Ms. Lummis, aye. Mr. Boozman, aye. Mr. Hoven, aye. Mr. Kelly, no. sorry. Mr. Wyden, no. Mr. Booker, no. Mr. Tillis, aye. Mr. Marshall, aye. Mr. Markey, no. Mr. Johnson, aye. Mr. Kennedy, aye. Ms. Rosen, no. Mr. Van Hollen, no. Mr. Scott of Florida, aye. Mr. Reed, no. Mr. Murphy, no. Mr. Budd, aye. Mr. Schmidt, aye. Mr. Banks, aye. Mr. Mullen, aye. Ms. Collins, aye. Mr. Warnock, no. Mr. Bennett, no. Mrs. Britt, aye. Mr. Marino, aye. Mr. Cruz, aye. Mr. Coons, no. Ms. Cantwell? No.
Dug out confession.
That's right. That'd be handy.
Okay, I got that makes sense. Let's do that. They missed a key one. But yeah, for the trans.
Thank you. I have a fundraising dinner I go to in about 20 minutes.
I'm missing Schumer, Murkowski. Ms. Murkowski? No. Mr. Schumer, no. Mr. McCormick, aye.
Thank you.
On this vote, the yeas are 50 and the nays are 44. The motion is agreed to. The clerk will report the nomination.
Federal Reserve System, Stephen Miran of New York, to be a member of the Board of Governors.
Can we go? Okay. President,
Senator from Kansas.
Mr. President, typically when we come to this hallowed floor, we're speaking on behalf of ourselves as senators, but tonight I want to speak on behalf of also my good staff. And to start, I'd like to start with the scripture from the psalmist. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those crushed in spirit. And tonight, many of us indeed are brokenhearted and crushed in spirit. It's tonight that we gather with heavy hearts to honor the extraordinary life of Charlie Kirk, a visionary conservative leader whose unyielding passion for freedom and faith ignited millions. Taken from us far too soon by a tragic political assassination on September 10th, 2025, Charlie's light continues to shine as a beacon for all of us who cherish liberty. Charlie was born in 1993 in a Chicago suburb, and he revealed his political fire early on. As a high schooler, he volunteered tirelessly for campaigns, and he penned sharp insights for Breitbart, already challenging the status quo with the clarity of a born leader. At just 18, in 2012, he founded Turning Point USA, a movement that would transform the landscape for young conservatives, millennials, and Gen Zers alike. Through electrifying campus activism, his influential podcasts and nationwide tours, Charlie mobilized a generation to stand firm against the shadows of big government and socialism. Today, many of those inspired young adults serve in our congressional offices, carrying forward the fight to safeguard our traditional values and constitutional rights from an ever-encroaching state. Many of these people will someday be speaking from this same floor. Now, Charlie wasn't just a preacher. He was a soul shaped by faith. He was unafraid to declare himself a child of God. He opened his heart and mind to every voice, fostering genuine dialogue amid division. As a champion of free speech and individual liberty, he urged the next generation to reclaim traditional family values, the bedrock of a thriving America. Through Turning Point USA and his commanding media presence, he didn't merely shape conservative thought. He empowered a movement, defending our ideas against progressive overreach with grace, grit, and unwavering optimism. Though an evil act sought to silence him, it only amplified his voice, transforming Charlie into a hero, a martyr whose sacrifices kindled a fire in us all. His spirit endures in the hearts of those he empowered to fight for liberty, reminding us that true leaders don't fade, they inspire. So I ask you, everyone listening today, including those of us who are brokenhearted and crushed in spirit, let us honor Charlie by living lives worthy of his legacy. Let not your anger turn into hate. Let me say that again. Let not your anger turn into hate. Please don't let Charlie's distractors win. Rather, channel your emotions into fighting with renewed vigor for the heart and soul of this great republic, nurturing the next generation of conservative leaders. Charlie's flame burns brighter through each of us. May Charlie Kirk rest in peace. And may God bless his memory, his family, and our shared mission. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Mr. President?
Senator from New Jersey.
Yes. Mr. President, I rise today to raise my concerns about a vote we're about to take on the nomination of Stephen Miran for the board of the Federal Reserve. I rise because the scarcest resource that we have in politics right now is trust. And unfortunately, trust is also the most important resource we need to heal our broken nation. I took part in a hearing 2 weeks ago for the nomination of Dr. Miran, and I've had a chance to be a part of a lot of different confirmations here during my time in the Senate so far, and I've heard a lot of different crazy things, but still, one part of this hearing really stood out to me. Now, mind you, this is someone who previously said, quote, "To pretend that one can easily shift between highly political and allegedly non-political roles without letting political biases inform policy is at best naive and at worst sinister." Those are the words of Dr. Miran himself, talking about the concerns of politicization of the Federal Reserve, about the inability to be able to separate some of our political biases from the work that needs to happen at the Fed if we have people who are too close to the White House, too close to the president. He is someone who criticized previous Democratic nominees to the Fed positions for their closeness to Democratic presidents and for serving in their administrations. He even called for a cooling off period that would ban service in the executive branch following service on the Fed board. But in this hearing, we heard something altogether different. And it's something that caught my attention, which is that Dr. Miran, who currently serves as the White House at the top as economic advisor to President Trump, serving as the head of the Council of Economic Advisors, has no problem with himself being nominated for this role on the Fed board. In fact, because this role is to serve the remainder of a term on the Fed board, which is a few months, Dr. Miran has stated and confirmed to us in the hearing that he will not resign his position at the White House, even if he takes upon this role of serving on the Federal Reserve Board. He will instead take a leave of absence from the White House, which means that he will technically still be attached to the White House despite also serving on the Federal Reserve Board. This has never been done before. And I see this as a deep breach of trust. And I urge my colleagues, especially my Senate Republican colleagues, to demand that Dr. Miran resign from the White House if he is confirmed. This should be a requirement. Now, I asked Dr. Miran how he can square his past statements about concerns about the revolving door between politics, and in particular the White House, and nominees to Fed positions. And he said, he downplayed and said, oh, he was just talking about a package of reforms that haven't passed yet, and that he shouldn't be held to the standard that he himself put forward. I'll be honest with you, it was straight up painful to watch. He tried to excuse his behavior, saying that his attorneys had advised him to take this leave of absence. He was saying he was just doing what his attorneys told him to do. That is misleading. What he didn't say is that these attorneys are telling him what is best for his career, not what is best for the American people. I wanted to share this story because it's one of the most blatant examples that I've seen in my time in the Senate so far of a lack of integrity. To twist yourself in knots because you want a job. To betray beliefs that you previously stated that you hold central to your beliefs of the work that we're doing just because you want a job. I'll be honest with you, I don't understand that, and I think that that is a dangerous behavior. Now, what bothers me is that it really shows who a person is. Someone is willing to quickly and easily betray their previously held strong beliefs. What does it say about other things that they believe in? Why should I believe what Dr. Miran says about his positions on our economy, on interest rates, about Fed independence, when I see how quickly he is willing to change his mind when it suits him? He believes something until it is inconvenient for his career. But this raises a question for all of us to consider, which is, why does it matter to the rest of us? Why should we care? D.C. is filled with ambitious people. What does it matter at the Federal Reserve? For those of you watching, maybe you've never heard of Dr. Miran. Maybe many of us in this country can't name other members of the Federal Reserve Board. So why should we care about this nomination and what he has said? Well, what I hope we understand is the importance of this choice. We need to understand the role that the Federal Reserve plays in this moment and how Dr. Miran can almost single-handedly reshape it. The Federal Reserve, in short, sets a monetary policy, the conditions that banks use to decide interest rates for your mortgage or auto loans. It sets them. Your banks, it regulates them to make sure that they're being responsible. The prices of your everyday goods, it determines the amount of money in circulation to keep those at a stable and reasonable costs. All of those things are important. They are part of our day-to-day lives, and the impact that the Federal Reserve has significant impact on our ability to save and to build wealth that we can pass on to our kids and our grandkids. Because these things are important, it's critical that the Federal Reserve be allowed to act independently. Independent of political whims, independent of political pressures, independent of political motives. The Fed's job is to execute all of those important tasks with your priorities in mind. We want people that have such a powerful role affecting our economy to be solely focused on what is best for our economy. That's why political interference must be constrained. I hope all of us can agree that we don't want a president, or any politician for that matter, being able to order interest rates to be lowered ahead of an election so that it could benefit them politically, right? That's something I hope all of us can agree would be wrong. Then how is it that we can be okay with someone still listed as an employee at the White House to sit on the Federal Reserve Board? Oh, and the reason he gives, which is that this is a temporary appointment, that just makes things worse. Dr. Miran is hoping to get President Trump to nominate him for the full term after this temporary term ends. But because he's staying at the White House staff as a leave of absence, he's doing so to hedge his bets, just in case that doesn't work out for him, just in case President Trump decides to nominate someone else for the full term next year. So this exposes the heart of the problem, which is that this vote that we're about to take here in the Senate, that Dr. Miran thinks of this as just a tryout, as just an audition, as just an opportunity for him to be able to do this and try to stay on President Trump's good side, keeping his fingers crossed for Trump to approve of his work so that he gets the full nomination next year. Of course he will feel pressure to do as Trump wants him to do in the interim about interest rates and feel beholden to him. So either Dr. Miran can decide that he wants to remove himself from consideration of the full term next year, or he should do what he himself has said that we should have, which is a ban on people being able to do this revolving door. He should at least step up and say that he will resign his position at the White House if this vote confirms him for this position. Because these challenges and these conflicts of interest are exactly why Dr. Miran previously called for a ban on this revolving door between the Fed and the White House and the executive branch. There are many other reasons for senators to oppose this nomination. But I wanted to focus on this one because I believe a majority of senators agree with this lack of independence by this decision by Dr. Miran to be able to continue to stay at the White House. Stephen Miran has every opportunity to do the right thing and ensure no conflicts of interest occur, but he refused. He had the chance to earn the trust of the United States Senate and the American people, but he refused. But we here in this chamber can do the right thing. If Dr. Miran wants his nomination to go forward, he should commit to resigning from the White House. Otherwise, this chamber should not move and vote his nomination through. And with that, I'll yield back.
I recognize the senator from Rhode Island.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise in opposition to President Trump's nomination of Stephen Miran to be a governor of the Federal Reserve Board. The Federal Reserve is among the most important economic institutions in the world, let alone the United States. Simply put, it is authorized to create money and determine the cost of that money by setting interest rates, all with the goal of achieving maximum employment and stable prices. When its 7 board members have a degree of protection from political interference, then the Fed is better able to contribute to sound economic policy for the nation. That's because they have freedom to make tough decisions that may not be favored by the White House or the Congress, but that are necessary to achieve its dual mandate. It is unfortunate that Dr. Miran demonstrated at his nomination hearing that he is a political partisan and that he will be President Trump man at the Fed. As if to emphasize the point, Dr. Miran intends to perform his job while, quote, on leave from his current position as the chair of the Council of Economic Advisors at the White House. In other words, he will be keeping his job as the president's chief economic advisor while being able to vote on interest rates. An architect of President Trump's tariffs, which have stoked inflation and under which American families and businesses are suffering every single day, Dr. Miran will now have one foot in the Fed and the other foot in the White House. And someone with this record, someone who's been a hardcore proponent of President Trump's policies that raise costs on everyday goods, that debase and devalue the dollar, that are based on unconstitutional notions that executive power has no limits, does not deserve a second job that comes with additional levers to damage the economy. So I will be voting no on Dr. Miran based on his track record and qualifications. I will also be voting no because he will be making a mockery of the law by refusing to relinquish his White House job. The Federal Reserve Act says that, quote, the members of the board shall devote their entire time to the business of the board. This means quite simply that Dr. Miran should and cannot have contact with the White House whatsoever while at the Fed. In other words, there must be very strong firewalls separating Miran's Fed duties from his White House duties. Those firewall walls will not work for this president, who demands that his advisors serve his own personal interest, who demands total fealty, and who acts as if he is above the law. Those firewalls will not work for this agency because President Trump is obsessed with browbeating the Fed into submission. He routinely demands that the Fed cuts rates from 4.25% to 1%. He has tried to intimidate Chair Powell, a Republican whom Trump first appointed, calling him a loser, stupid, corrupt, and incompetent, simply because he won't do exactly what President Trump wants. And traditional firewalls will not work for this nominee. As the president's chief economist, Dr. Miran will almost certainly pick up the phone if Trump calls. He will be reading Trump's social media posts. He has every incentive to do Trump's bidding so he can return to the White House job. And even in the unlikely event that Dr. Miran acts independently, then Trump will simply oust him, fire him from the Council of Economic Advisors. Most troubling, Dr. Miran has testified that as he received advice from White House lawyers blessing this arrangement. This kind of self-certification is dubious at best. Dr. Miran has failed to produce it. That's why I joined Ranking Member Warren and several of our Banking Committee colleagues in demanding that Dr. Miran share this analysis. And as is typical with this administration, he did not even respond to our request. Dr. Miran's stonewalling can only be read as a concession that this is a corrupt bargain. Critical questions remain unanswered because of Dr. Miran's contempt of the Banking Committee, his evasion of our questions, and his refusal to provide details about this fraught proposal to retain his White House job while at the Fed. He must be straightforward and honest about how he intends to do the job. And he must acknowledge the reality that the president will have enormous influence and leverage over him. We must have answers before the Senate votes on this nomination, which is minutes away, and we will not get those answers. I will also be voting no because Dr. Miran has shown exceptionally poor integrity in this confirmation process. He tweeted in 2023 that no person, quote, on the planet can go from highly political operative to political neutral just because he or she gets a promotion. That's just not how human beings work, close quote. He said this during the Biden administration when a Fed governor resigned to become an economic advisor to the president in the White House. Dr. Miran himself now wants to move between the Fed and the White House. Under Dr. Miran's own standard, he would need to violate the law of physics to be capable of acting independently. Just last year, Dr. Miran wrote a 25-page paper proposing an overhaul of the structure and governance of the Fed. In that paper, he wrote that, quote, short-circuiting the revolving door between the Fed and the executive branch is critical to reducing the incentives for officials to act in the short-term political interests of the president, close quote. Yet he is now racing through this revolving door. He called for specific reforms to shut this revolving doors. Those reforms include prohibiting any government from returning to the executive branch for 4 years, removing the 4 cores removal for protection for governors, and the current president voluntarily refraining from removing any incumbent board members or Reserve Bank leaders during his term. At his confirmation hearing, Dr. Miran didn't even try to stand by these proposals. He testified that this proposal was a package deal. It was a suite of checks and balances, and it's highly inappropriate to take one check or balance outside the context of the overall package. However, Dr. Miran badly mischaracterized his own work. In his paper, Dr. Miran never said that these programs were a package deal or that they must be implemented in an all-or-nothing manner. To the contrary, he wrote that this, quote, proposal can be implemented in a piecemeal fashion, one policy at a time, if legislatively easier. Well, he has the chance to implement it one point at a time by simply resigning from the Council of Economic Advisors. This nominee is asking for the American people's trust to set the nation's credit and monetary policy. By misleading the Banking Committee, and this is deliberate, he has demonstrated that he cannot be trusted with this responsibility. Like so many of this administration's nominees, Dr. Miran knew that standing by his previous views would take him out of the running. So he disavowed them to avoid getting crosswise with President Trump, who wants to get his man confirmed to the Fed today, which happens to be the day before the Fed's next meeting to vote on interest rates. Trump's former economics advisor, Larry Kudlow, said the quiet part out loud on a podcast last week. He said, quote, the bottom line is Trump is going to take over the Fed. Dr. Miran's appointment is a critical piece of Trump's hostile takeover, along with the attempted ouster of Governor Cook and the continued attacks on Chair Powell. When the Fed becomes controlled by Trump's yes men, it won't speak with enough authority to achieve its mandate. Inflation will get out of control and higher prices will persist. Rates on credit cards, auto loans, and mortgages will go up. Americans will be asked to pay more to finance our nation's enormous and growing public debt. This outcome is unacceptable, while millions of Americans are struggling to cover increased costs of everyday expenses. I would like to close by quoting former Republican Senator Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania, but also a native of Rhode Island, who ably served as the ranking member of the Banking Committee. In 2021, he spoke against one of President Biden's nominees to the Federal Reserve and said, the American people deserve a serious nominee who will serve without a political agenda. It is exceptionally important to keep politics out of monetary policy. Applying Senator Toomey's principles, Dr. Miran has not demonstrated his ability to serve quote, without a political agenda. He has not demonstrated that he is a serious nominee, and he's not demonstrated that he will serve without a political agenda. Instead, he has demonstrated his loyalty to President Trump and essentially thumbed his nose at the Senate. He has already compromised his independence through his plan to hold on to his White House position. And I urge my colleagues to vote against this nominee, not only for the benefit of the Federal Reserve, but for the integrity of the United States Senate. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor.
I recognize the senator from Louisiana. Is there further debate? If not, the question occurs on the nomination.
Ask for the yeas and nays.
Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Banks, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Blackburn, Mr. Blumenthal, Ms. Blunt Rochester, Mr. Booker, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Britt, Mr. Budd, Ms. Cantwell, Mrs. Capito, Mr. Cassidy. Ms. Collins. Mr. Coons, Mr. Cornyn, Ms. Cortez Masto, Mr. Cotton. Mr. Crapo, Mr. Cruz, Mr. Curtis, Mr. Daines, Ms. Duckworth, Mr. Durbin, Ms. Ernst, Mr. Fetterman, Mrs. Fisher, Mr. Gallego, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham, Mr. Grassley, Mr. Haggerty, Ms. Hassan, Mr. Hawley, Mr. Heinrich, Mr. Hickenlooper, Ms. Hirono, Mr. Hoven, Mr. Husted, Mrs. Hyde-Smith, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Justice, Mr. Kane, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Kim, Mr. King, Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Langford, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lujan, Ms. Lummis, Mr. Markey, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McConnell, Mr. McCormick, Mr. Merkley, Mrs. Moody, Mr. Moran, Mr. Moreno, Mr. Mullen, Ms. Murkowski, Mr. Murphy, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Ossoff, Mr. Padilla, Mr. Paul, Mr. Peters, Mr. Reed, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Risch, Ms. Rosen, Mr. Rounds, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schatz, Mr. Schiff, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Schumer, Mr. Scott of Florida, Mr. Scott of South Carolina, Mrs. Shaheen, Mr. Sheehy, Ms. Slotkin, Ms. Smith, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Thune, Mr. Tillis, Mr. Tuberville, Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Warner, Mr. Warnock, Ms. Warren, Mr. Welch, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Mr. Young. Moreno. Senators voting in the negative: Also Brooks, Baldwin, Booker, Coons, Gallego, Hirono, Kim, Murray, Peters, Reed, Rosen, Schatz, Schumer, Warren. Ms. Blunt Rochester, Ms. Blunt Rochester, no. Mrs. Capito, Mrs. Capito, aye. Ms. Cantwell, no. Mr. Banks, aye. Mr. Marshall, aye. Mr. Wicker, aye. Mr. King, no. Mr. Durbin, no. Mr. Rounds, aye. Mr. Sheehy, Mr. Sheehy. Aye. Mr. Padilla, Mr. Padilla. No. Mr. Fetterman, Mr. Fetterman. No. Ms. Collins, Ms. Collins. Aye. Mr. Lujan, Mr. Lujan. No. Mr. Mullen, Mr. Mullen. Aye. Mr. Cornyn, Mr. Cornyn. Aye. Mr. Wyden, Mr. Wyden, no. Ms. Hassan, Ms. Hassan, no. Mr. Tillis, Mr. Tillis, aye. Mr. Bennett, Mr. Bennett, no. Mr. Blumenthal, Mr. Blumenthal, no. Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Barrasso, aye. Mr. Thune, Mr. Thune, aye. Mrs. Shaheen, Mrs. Shaheen, no. Mr. Grassley, Mr. Grassley, aye. Mr. Ossoff, Mr. Ossoff, no. Mr. Hickenlooper, Mr. Hickenlooper, no. Mr. Justice, Mr. Justice, aye. Mr. Scott of Florida, aye. Mr. Murphy, no. Mr. Kramer, aye. Mr. Budd, aye. Mr. McCormick, aye. Mr. Schmidt, aye. Mr. Graham, aye. Ms. Smith, no. Mr. Moran, aye. Ms. Markowski, no. Mrs. Britt, aye. Mrs. Hyde Smith, aye. Mr. Risch, aye. Mr. Husted, aye. Mr. Bozeman, aye. Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Van Hollen, no. Mr. McConnell, aye. Mr. Markey, no. Mr. Warnock, no. Mr. Warner, no. Mr. Schiff, no. Mrs. Moody, aye. Mr. Johnson, aye. Ms. Jockworth, no. Ms. Cortez Masto, no. Mr. Cotton, aye. Ms. Slotkin, no. Mr. Langford, aye. Mr. Curtis, aye. Mr. Hoven, aye. Mr. Kelly, no. Mr. Welch, no. Mr. Heinrich, no. Mr. Merkley, no. Mr. Whitehouse, no. Mr. Young, aye.
Because I've seen conflicting reports. But she opposed some. Yeah, that's a word.
Miss Ernst, aye. Mrs. Gillibrand, no. Mr. Kane, no. Ms. Klobuchar, no. Mr. Tuberville, aye. Mr. Haggerty, aye. Mr. Sullivan, aye. Mr. Ricketts, aye. Mr. Cruz, aye. Mrs. Fisher, aye. Mr. Scott of South Carolina, aye.
What was the number? The yeas are 48, the nays are 47, and the nomination is approved. Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered made and laid upon the table, and the President will be immediately notified of this action. The Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move to proceed to legislative session.
The question is on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move to proceed to executive session to consider the in-block nominations listed in SRS 377.
Questions on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion is approved. The clerk will report the nominations en bloc.
Environmental Protection Agency, Jessica Kramer of Wisconsin to be an Assistant Administrator. Department of Energy, Dario Gill of New York to be Undersecretary for Science. Department of Energy, Brandon Williams of New York to be Undersecretary for Nuclear Security. Department of Energy, Tristan Abbey of Florida to be Administrator of the Energy Information Administration. Department of the Interior, Leslie Beyer of Texas to be an Assistant Secretary. Department of Energy, Theodore J. Garish of Maryland to be an Assistant Secretary for Nuclear Energy. Department of the Interior, Andrea Travnicek of North Dakota to be an Assistant Secretary. Department of Defense, Justin Overbaugh of Florida to be a Deputy Undersecretary. Scott Papano of Pennsylvania to be Principal Deputy Administrator, National Nuclear Security Administration. Department of Defense, Michael Cadenazzi of Rhode Island to be an Assistant Secretary. Department of Defense, Sean O'Keefe of Virginia to be a Deputy Undersecretary. Michael Obadal of Virginia to be Undersecretary of the Army. Catherine Sutton of Illinois to be an Assistant Secretary of Defense. William L. Duffermeyer of Texas to be Solicitor of the Department of the Interior. Kyle Hostveit of Oklahoma to be an Assistant Secretary of Energy for Fossil Energy. Matthew Napoli of Virginia to be Deputy Administrator for Defense Nuclear Nonproliferation under the National Nuclear Security Administration. Richard Anderson of Virginia to be an Assistant Secretary of the Air Force. Connor Chaska of Texas to be Director of the Advanced Research Projects Agency for the Department of Energy. Tina Pierce of Idaho to be Chief Financial Officer for the Department of Energy. Jonathan Brightbill of Virginia to be General Counsel of the Department of Energy. Robert Gleason of Pennsylvania to be Director of the Amtrak Board of Directors for. Sean McMaster of Virginia to be Administrator of the Federal Highway Administration. Donald Bergen III of Virginia to be an Assistant Secretary of Veterans Affairs for Congressional and Legislative Affairs. John Squires of Florida to be Undersecretary of Commerce for Intellectual Property and Director of the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Daniel Aronowitz of Virginia to be an Assistant Secretary of Labor. Michael Dodd of Indiana to be an Assistant Secretary of Defense. William Gillis of Virginia to be an Assistant Secretary of the Army. Jules Hurst III of Virginia to be an Assistant Secretary of the Army. Brent Ingraham of Virginia to be an Assistant Secretary of the Army. George Wesley Street of Virginia to be Director of the National Counterintelligence and Security Center. Peter Thompson of Louisiana to be Inspector General, Central Intelligence Agency. Jeffrey Bartos of Pennsylvania to be Representative of the United States of America to the United Nations for UN Management and Reform with the rank of Ambassador. Jennifer Losqueta of Florida to be an alternate representative of the United States of America for Special Political Affairs in the United Nations with the rank of Ambassador. Dudley Hoskins of the District of Columbia to be Undersecretary of Agriculture for Marketing and Regulatory Programs. Scott Hutchins of Indiana to be Undersecretary of Agriculture for Research, Education, and Economics. Benjamin DiMarzo of Virginia to be an Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Jovan Jovanovic of Pennsylvania to be President of the Export-Import Bank of the United States. Richard Fordyce of Missouri to be Undersecretary of Agriculture for Farm Production and Conservation. Paul Roberti of Rhode Island to be Administrator of the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration for the Department of Transportation. Jonathan Morrison of California to be Administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Jason Evans of Texas to be an Undersecretary of State for Management, Edward Aloysius O'Connell of the District of Columbia to be an Associate Judge of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, Catherine Scarlett of Ohio to be a member of the Council on Environmental Quality, Brian Switzer of Virginia to be a Deputy United States Trade Representative for Asia Textiles, Investment Services, and Intellectual Property with the rank of Ambassador, Callista Gingrich of Florida to be Ambassador of the United States of America to the Principality of Liechtenstein, Kimberly Guilfoyle of Florida to be Ambassador of the United States of America to Greece, Christine Toretti of Pennsylvania to be Ambassador of the United States of America to the Kingdom of Sweden, Peter Lamelas of Florida to be Ambassador of the United States of America to the Argentine Republic.
Senator,
I send cloture motion to the desk.
the clerk will report.
Cloture motion, we, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate and the provisions of Senate Resolution 377 from the 119th Congress, do hereby move to bring to a closed debate on executive calendar numbers 89, 105, 107, 121, 122, 123, 124, 132, 133, 135, 136, 137, 139, 141, 142, 152, 153, 154, 156, 157, 161, 177, 180, 185, 251, 276, 277, 278, 279, 283, 285, 289, 290, 297, 298, 303, 305, 324, 344, 346, 352, 356, 362, 365, 149, 286, 302, 350, en bloc, signed by 17 senators as follows.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the reading of the names be waived.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I understand that there are two bills at the desk, and I... Mr. President, I move to proceed to legislative session.
Question is on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion is approved.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the Senate be in a period of morning business with senators permitted to speak therein for up to 10 minutes each.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I understand that there are two bills at the desk, and I ask for their first reading in block.
The clerk will read the titles on the bills for the first time in block.
S-2805, a bill to provide for the designation of the Russian Federation as a state sponsor of terrorism. S-2806, a bill to provide for automatic continuing appropriations.
President, I now ask for a second reading, and I object to my own request, all in block.
Objections heard. The bills will be read for a second time on the next legislative day.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate now proceed to the in-block consideration of the following resolutions which are at the desk. S-Res 387, S-Res 388.
Without objection. The Senate will proceed to the resolution in block.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the resolutions be agreed to, the preambles be agreed to, and that the motion to reconsider be considered and made laid upon the table, all in block.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the appointment at the desk appear separately in the record as if made by the chair.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that when the Senate completes its business today, it stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Tuesday, September the 16th, that following the prayer and pledge, the journal proceedings be approved today at the morning hour be deemed expired, the time for the two leaders be reserved for their use later in the day, morning business be closed, and the Senate resume consideration of calendar number 115 S-2296. Further, that the Senate recess from 12:30 p.m. until 2:15 p.m. to allow for the weekly conference meetings.
Without objection.
Mr. President, for the information of all senators, we expect one roll call vote on the motion to proceed to S.J. Res 60 at approximately 2:30 p.m. and another roll call vote on the motion to proceed to Senator Paul's budget resolution around 5:30 p.m. tomorrow. If there's no further business to come before the Senate, I ask that it stand adjourned under the previous order.
The Senate stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.